What's going on, Spartans? Happy Thursday, February 1st. Remember, if you haven't checked in yet this week, do so. Today, Zoom 140 to 225. No Zoom tomorrow. So if you're planning on checking in by Zoom, it's got to be today. Otherwise, you could send me an email today, preferably today, since I'll still be here. You can still send me an email tomorrow. However, I will not be here. Thus, I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you if you send me a question tomorrow. But if you could check in today, that would be glorious. If today's not working, still need to check in by tomorrow. We're talking the Israeli-Hamas war. And then you have a discussion question to respond to on the Schoology for tomorrow. There'll be another video for tomorrow where I more or less run through some hypothetical answers here. It'll be important for you to have that information because you'll see that same question on your test tomorrow. No new information after today. Tests will be open tomorrow. You'll have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday to finish that exam. Please make sure that you finish the exam by Tuesday, February 6th. Let's get into it. The Israeli-Hamas war. You read the article. It's quite gruesome. The conflict itself is not necessarily a military one. It's not a military conflict. It's not the Hamas army versus the Israeli army. What this largely involves is citizens, Israeli and Palestinian citizens on this conflict that has been going on since October of last year. Quite gruesome. Hostages being taken, people being dismembered, sexually assaulted, tortured. You have entire communities of Palestinians being forced to relocate into refugee camps and live in tent cities. Just awful. Why is it happening? And some people claim that Hamas is a terrorist group, and I can understand the belief behind that. They've done some pretty atrocious things. But at the same point in time, Hamas is a political group, a governmental organization that was duly elected by the Palestinian people. They are more or less trying to do what every Palestinian group has done and tried to do in the last 76 years of this Palestinian-Israeli conflict, which is obtain self-determination, whether it's Hamas or Fatah or the Palestinian Authority or the Palestinian Liberation Organization or any other Palestinian group in the last 7.5 decades. They've all tried to gain some sort of self-determination for the Palestinian people. Now, let's be honest, Hamas would like to see all of the Israelis removed from the territory, removed from the Holy Land, either peacefully or violently. I mean, Hamas, based on their objectives, doesn't really care if the Israeli people live or die. But nevertheless, the conflict is still the same. You have the Israeli government in their own country exerting their influence over the Palestinians in the West Bank and the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, and you have groups fighting back against them, regardless of what Palestinian group it is. There's another wrinkle to this, and it's touched on slightly in the article when it makes connections to the Iranian government. There is the influence of non-secularism, and again, non-secularism means that religion influences every component of life: laws, religion, beliefs, morals, customs, education, social structure. It's all based on religion. I think perhaps this is why this current conflict between the Israeli government and Hamas will not end, because there is no reasoning with religion. It's black and white. It's written down. People believe it or don't believe it. And if you believe what's there, then there is no discussion to be had. The overall implications of this, and again, we've seen this before, the Israeli government agreed in the Camp David Accords to slowly allow the establishment of a Palestinian nation, whether, again, it be the West Bank and Gaza together or the West Bank and Gaza separate. But they're not going to allow the Palestinians to get their own country or own countries if these attacks keep happening. And this is why I think we're far from any sort of solution to the problem. If the Israeli government were to allow the Palestinians to have their own countries, their own independence, and no longer be a region and or territory of Israel, and these attacks continue to happen, the Israelis are going to be limited on what they can and cannot do. Right now, they can handle these situations as more or less an insurrection, a rebellion, an internal affair. But if Gaza and West Bank were to become independent countries, we have a whole different set of rules to play by, and those are the rules of war, in which other countries are going to get involved because they're allied with them more so than they currently are. This is exceptionally dangerous to any sort of progress being made. This sets the Palestinian plight against the Israelis back decades. And I don't know how this ends. I don't know how it ends for the Israelis, the Palestinians, the problem of the Palestinians not having their own country. We have a question due tomorrow. And again, you'll find something very similar on your exam. Who do you feel bears responsibility for the ongoing Israeli-Hamas war? And explain in paragraph form. I'm going to stress that to you. Explain in paragraph form. This is not a 1 or 2 sentence answer. This is going to take some writing here and some thought. In my in-person contemporary issues class, a lot of kids wrote about it's either the Israelis or Hamas's fault, or it's the Israelis or the Palestinians' fault. You're not limited to that. I want to make sure that's clear. There are a lot of stakeholders in this conflict between Israel and Hamas, and it's certainly not anything new. Hamas is a relatively new group in this conflict, but again, they're really no different from Fatah or the other components of the Palestinian Liberation Organization or other government structures like the Palestinian Authority. They're really not new. They have a different flavor, but it's still the same thing. Is the responsibility Hamas and Israel, or is the responsibility the Palestinians or the Israelis? Is it a government issue? Is it a political issue? Are there certain people who are in power of the Palestinians or the Israelis? Think Benjamin Netanyahu or people like Yasser Arafat. Are they to blame for this? Is the West blamed for this? Do they bear a responsibility? The British, the French, the United States, they got involved in this region largely for oil, in addition to not wanting to have the Jews live in their country. Are they to blame for this? Is it westernization and the influence of democracy? Is it non-secularism, or is it secularism that bears the responsibility to this? Could the media be involved? Do they bear any responsibility for airing this on television around the clock, resulting in other people to kind of follow along in copycat fashion, the hostilities that one directs at another? Is there some sort of military industrial complex that plays a factor in this? Do they bear responsibility? Defense industries, those who make weapons, they're profiting from this. Is it American politicians? Do they have some sort of responsibility for this? Right now, there's more conflict in U.S. politics regarding Israel than we've seen in decades. The Republicans are coming out staunch supporters of the Israelis, while the Democrats, many of them are staunch supporters of the Palestinians. Do they play a factor in this? So I'd like you to take a look at that. Get your thoughts down here. Who do you feel bears responsibility for this ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas? It's an opinion question. So as long as you have logical thought and reasoning behind your opinion, you get the points. But take some time and look at that. I'll go through this tomorrow. I'll post another video, even though I'm not going to be here. And then I'll open up the test for you. And again, you'll have Friday, the weekend, Monday and Tuesday to get it done. Enjoy your day. Get out and enjoy the weather. It's supposed to be nice again. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. Go Spartans.